Scroll through social media and you will find an endless feed of the hashtag van life aesthetic. Nomads waking up to pristine beach sunrises, operating with no bosses, no mortgages, and total autonomy over where they sleep. To actually pull this off, most of these travelers rely on stealth camping. This means deliberately parking where no one else goes, seeking out the absolute edges of the map to avoid trespassing fines or a late-night knock on the window. But the moment you leave the grid, you leave the safety net behind. Every mile you drive away from the city center strips away another layer of security: streetlights, witnesses, cell service, and any chance of a fast emergency response. During the day, that isolation feels like paradise, but when the sun drops, the social media filter vanishes with it. You are entirely alone in an environment you do not control. Leaving the grid removes the social barriers that normally discourage violence. In these 6 cases, the search for the open road led directly into an escalating series of documented nightmares. When you park in the wild, the environment itself is the first hazard. Nomads Snow and Kurt found what looked like a flawless spot near an isolated beach and waterfall in Central America. That pristine setting turned hostile within hours. A severe weather shift brought unnervingly fast tides and a blinding flash flood, engulfing the very road they were parked on. Surrounded by a rising torrent and pitch-black conditions, they had to navigate their rig backwards through dense trees and parked cars. With zero visibility, a single steering mistake would have sent them sliding into the deep water. Nature is a completely indifferent force. Out there, a single poor choice in where you drop your tires guarantees you will be stranded or submerged before morning. Moving back toward civilization doesn't necessarily solve the problem. Creator Brendan parked his van in a dark, isolated corner of Jaywick, a notoriously deprived urban fringe town in the UK. Stealth campers try their best to blend in, but a loaded rig parked overnight in a desolate lot is an obvious anomaly. To locals, it stands out as a stationary, undefended vault. Deep into the night, footsteps approached his vehicle. Someone quietly tested the door handle. Then, a flashlight beam swept through the front cab, followed immediately by the harsh crash of breaking glass. The intruders had spotted Brendan's covered camper fridge through a gap in the curtains. Assuming it was a heavy toolbox full of expensive gear, they smashed the window to grab it, fleeing only when Brendan shouted from the back. In the urban fringe, isolation leaves a stealth camper defenseless. The lack of witnesses turns a camper van into a prime target for opportunistic crime. A robbery has a clear motive, but in other cases, logic breaks down entirely. In November 2022, an elderly couple named Ellie and Graham parked in a small empty car park in Altrincham. At 1 a.m., loud music woke them up. Then came a deafening crash. 3 heavy bricks hit the van at the exact same moment, shattering the passenger window and crushing the side door, proving a coordinated group was waiting outside. Yet no one tried to reach inside. The perpetrators simply ran back to a car and peeled out, leaving the couple physically trapped and entirely baffled. This kind of senseless hostility happens deep in the woods, too. A creator known as Tropical Russians had her quiet night shattered by targeted gunfire tearing through the branches directly above her rig, forcing her to scream into the dark to ward off the shooter. Miles out in the Box Hill forest, a solo camper named Will sat frozen in his car as heavy footsteps circled his camp. He captured audio of deeply unsettling, human-like screams echoing through the pitch-black timber, choosing to lock his doors rather than step outside to investigate. But the most disturbing encounter happened to a camper named Ads. He parked his microvan near an ancient cemetery shrouded in dense woods, walking out with a flashlight to film a Halloween ghost hunt. He eventually fled after spotting someone standing in the trees. But the true horror emerged after he reviewed his footage. Viewers noticed a dark, unidentifiable figure quietly stalking him through the background shadows, long before he ever realized he was being watched. Extreme isolation strips away rational motives. Without the structure of society, campers are completely vulnerable to threats driven by pure malice or psychological terror, where the attacker has nothing to gain but fear itself. The physical damage from these encounters can be repaired, but the psychological toll lingers. These creators survived, but they now navigate the road with a forced, permanent state of hypervigilance, double-checking every lock and shadow. This is the central trade-off of the stealth camping lifestyle. You gain the ultimate freedom of mobility, but you pay for it with a complete loss of personal security. Next time you scroll past a pristine photo of a van parked on a remote cliffside, look past the serene sunset. Ask yourself what happens in that exact location when the camera shuts off and the nearest help is 100 miles away. True isolation provides peace, but it also carries the weight of profound vulnerability once the sun goes down.